Ach, up, ach, up, ach. Oh, wang, 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 wang. Good morning. My name is Chris Fox, and today we are talking about my income from 2021. Let me look over at the calendar so I can feel guilty. It's April 7th, guys. My last video was on, gosh, I want to say December 21st or somewhere thereabouts, and I said, oh yeah, I'm going to get an income video out, and here we are 4 months later. We'll talk about that at the end of the video if you're curious, but let's get into the income. So last year was really good for me. When you look at the gross numbers, you're like, oh God, you've done so much worse, Chris, that's terrible. I'll flash it up on the screen there. You can see I earned about $190,000 gross last year, which is my lowest year since I want to say 2018. It's been a while. Last year was about 250, and the one before that was 315. I was doing really, really well. My income was high, but so were my expenses. So what happened is in 2021 I had a pretty rough year. I grossed 252,000, but I was spending money everywhere on all sorts of things. Like I had an assistant running my mailing list, and I had somebody else running my advertising, and I had a whole bunch of bills, which is fine. I was still making a profit, but we're eating into things. And so what I did for this year is I started cutting everything. And this started about, I'm going to say midway through 2021. So if we look at this, we will in the second half of the video, you'll see that kind of, it keeps sloping down in the right direction where my expenses are dropping and my totals are not dropping that much. So, I'm not having a ton of big months in terms of money, but now it's almost all profit and I'm making a lot more money. And so my job's a lot easier. I really went lean. I cut out anything that my business didn't need. And this year, 2022, has been my best year in terms of ad spend to revenue ever. And this was without having had a release in months. So last time I put out a book was in early December. It's been almost 4 months, and I'm still doing pretty well trucking right along, right at about, $10,000 a month. $11,000 a month, because I found the ad spend secret, which is I cut every ad that wasn't working for me. I cut every expense that wasn't working for me. And all of a sudden I have kind of a turnkey solution. So I'm not putting up big sales numbers, but all of my books, I raise the prices. I don't sell as many of them, but per profit, I'm making a ton. And so it's kind of nice, as you'll see, at the end of the video, and when I talk a little bit about what I've been doing, I'm doing stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with writing. And I've learned an entirely new skill set. I have set up an entire parallel business which feeds into my writing business and utilizes the intellectual property that I've accrued. So I kind of have made space for me to go wide and deep money-wise without having to write 10, 12 books a year for the rest of my life. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to write 4 books a year for probably the next year or two, and then like 2 books a year for the rest of my career until I get a point where maybe only one is what I want to do. That's the direction I'm trending to. I want to write less, not more. So I'm kind of building my business with that in mind, so that I'm still making good money, but I'm not tethered to this, $250,000, business where I have to be the CEO for all these expenses. It's felt really good to take a lot of this stuff back. So as an example, I took back my own advertising, I took back my own mailing list, and that alone, just those 2 bills, between the two of them, that's $1,250 a month that I was paying that I'm no longer paying, that goes right back into my pocket. It takes more time. It does definitely do that, and time is at a premium for me as I am a parent, but it's worth it to me and I enjoy it. I really like sending my own newsletters, and I'm good at advertising, so I really enjoy that too. Anyway, we'll jump into some specific numbers in the second half of the video. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, so for starters, I want to take a look at the bills for the business, because this is radically different. And I have never really done this before, where I sat down and I figured out the fixed monthly business costs and dialed them in where I wanted them to be. So I looked at everything that my business had going for it, and anything that wasn't definitely necessary, I got rid of. And one of the things that included was editing. I've been paying my wife to edit for a number of years, but I've reached a point where I've written 40 books and I don't really need editing in the same way anymore. I just need proofreading. So I cut that out as an expense. And my wife still graciously proofreads the book. She just gives it one pass and cleans it up, and off to the store it goes. Artwork, I'm still needing to buy covers, but that's only on, a few months, not every month. And you can see each of my utilities and how much I pay myself. But the bottom line is, when you get to the full expenses, we're looking at about $11,500 is what I need to earn to cover my bills as a business on a standard month. And then, 14 to 15,000 to cover it on a launch month. And that's easy for me to achieve. This is not something I have to stretch for. It's not something I have to put a lot of effort into. It's sort of a turnkey automatic solution, which is so much less stress for me. And what I'm doing is kind of building towards a really robust profit funnel. So if you look at Shattered Gods, you can see here how much I've spent for each of the books and where they're at in terms of are they making a profit yet or are they still in the red? And the projected revenue as the series gets longer. I mean, you can see I've really kind of costed this out. And what I'm going to end up with is an epic fantasy series that spans 10 books that is something like, 8 or 9,000 pages long that hopefully is compelling to the very end, that gets people into the funnel and just doesn't let them go. And what I'm doing is reinvesting every penny that I make from book one into advertising. So no matter how much or how little it makes, that always goes reinvested right back into advertising. And the goal is to get the rest of them profitable. Because once you're making, $50 for a new person coming into the series, and then knowing on the back of that, they're going to find my other series, so it becomes like 70 or 80 bucks. It really sells itself. And I have to use the internet to sell this, or rather I get to use the internet to sell this, instead of doing it myself or having to network or having to go to conferences or do anything that I don't want to do. I could basically just run some ads and my business makes a profit and call it a day. And that's what I'd always wanted. Like every author who you don't want to have to talk to or interact with people, I've reached that phase in my career. It's amazing. For those that are curious, though, about what I have been up to, we'll kind of talk a little bit about what I've been doing instead of writing. Okay, so we're looking at me again. I wanted to talk just a little bit about where I've been and what's going on with the channel and sort of what my plans are going forward, because people have been asking, hey, is the channel dead? What are you doing, Chris? And it wasn't until I heard that Lindsay Broker, who once upon a time ran the science fiction and fantasy marketing podcast, which transitioned into Six Figure Authors, she's been podcasting for like a decade and helping the indie community. And when I saw that she decided she's going to hang up her hat for a while, I kind of felt obligated to step back in and make a video just, to keep making a few more resources. I'd like to help the community, but I mean, there's only so many ways that I can say a motivational video. I've got a lot of them. There's only so many ways I can talk about the same subjects, and I really feel like I've covered most of them, so I took a good step away. And I'll keep making videos when I think it's useful. They're probably going to be more long-form video. I did one about the Wheel of Time, and I ended up scrapping the project in its current incarnation because I felt like it was too negative. I was just taking too many swings and bashing the show, because in the end I was really unhappy with it, especially the second half of the season. So what I decided to do instead was tell the actual story of the Wheel of Time per the books using footage from the show. And so I sort of repurposed what I've been building. So sometime in the next few months, I'll probably release like a 45-minute to an hour-long video about the Wheel of Time, talking about what they changed and my thoughts on it. I might do more stuff like that. If there are specific videos you want to see, feel free to ask for them in the comments. I'm happy to to make additional content, but I don't know, haven't felt super inspired. For those that are curious, what I've been doing, what I've been working on, has been a ton of fun. I've learned woodworking. I've gotten really good at it. So there's a lot of room to go, but I'm making projects that I intend to sell. So I'll be running a Kickstarter very soon where I have handcrafted objects that I have created, which I'm going to be selling. I'll flash some of those up on the screen. So I've purchased a bunch of saws and tools, and I've learned how to use them all. I've built solar cards, and I've just kind of gone nuts over the last 6 months because I want multiple revenue streams. As I'm getting older, I'm realizing, I'm kind of more tired and I have less energy than I once did for writing. So it's kind of nice to have alternate revenue streams. And what I found I've been able to do is, on one day I'm working with my hands and I'm building stuff, and on the next day I'm thinking and I'm writing, and that instead of having to do creative work, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for year after year after year after year, I'd like to kind of dial that back some and fill the creative well. So it's been taking some time for me, and that kind of led to another business. And what grew out of that was another channel. So I have another channel that I've been posting to that I absolutely love. It has nothing at all to do with writing, unfortunately. So it's like not of use to this channel, and it's not even like tangentially related to it. It's about prepping, which those of you who watched the last video I was into saw I got into prepping a little bit. The world's in a very interesting place right now in the Chinese sense, interesting times. So I have been preparing, and I've been getting more, tools and food and water, not in like a crazy way, but I wasn't at all prepared. And, when your government tells you, hey, you guys need to have 2 weeks of food and water on hand, I tend to listen. We'll post again in the future, and this channel is absolutely not dead, but it's probably going to be fairly infrequent. If you need something and you post, I will see it. So you can do that, or you can email me at chris@chrisfoxwrites.com. I'm going to get back to the writing videos and creating GM screens at the moment, and I'll see you guys soon.